and welcome to another episode of the Heart of Customer Experience. I'm Joanna Palmer, and Max Ball, it's so great to see you again.
Well, it's good to see you, Joanna. How are things in your part of the world right now?
Things are going well. It's sunny, it's warming up. The Arctic air is out of the way, and
Nice.
looking forward to spring. How about you?
It's good. It's good. We're having a nice day. We may get some rain, which we desperately need, and I'll put up with the blue sky going away to get that. And other than that, things are really, really good. Um, what do you want to talk about today? Have some thoughts?
Let's talk about where the contact center lives within your organization and how that could impact your bottom line.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
I know, right? All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So,
So, um, my understanding of the world is the vast majority of contact centers are in operations. I remember seeing some research that it was 84% of the time, this was about who buys. 84% of the time, it was the COO who was the final arbiter of the purchase. So that means it was in operations 84% of the time. How does Where do you see it living, and what are some of the implications of that?
yeah, and I think that that's interesting that it's in operations 84% of the time. And if you think about operations overall, a lot of times that's tightly tied to financials in terms of how do we optimize the contact center? How do we ensure that we're driving down handle time, driving out contacts, and just making the contact center just as operationally efficient as possible. And we do see that a lot. We do see some of those common themes when we look at contact center. The other area that I see it in sometimes is under the marketing organization. And you might say, huh, that's interesting. Why would it be under the marketing
Is that
organization?
is that more when it's a sales oriented thing, like it's an outbound sales and the BDRs are in marketing, or is it broader
When
than that?
sometimes it's broader than that. And if you look at how organizations are changing their view of customer service, of contact center, what we're seeing now is that there are organizations that have chief contacts or chief customer officers or chief experience officers. And a lot of times those CCOs or CXOs are owning the customer life cycle, owning the marketing, the sales, and the service associated with
Wow.
that customer. Yeah, yeah. And thinking about that and thinking about how that organization is run, there has been research and papers written that those that have those chief customer officers, those chief experience officers, and are focused on customer experience as a whole tend to drive more revenue than those
Mm-hmm.
that aren't focused on experience. And it is interesting. And I've worked in contact centers that have rolled up under both under marketing at times and under finance at times. And it's interesting just the dynamics that you see based on where the contact center lives and the focus on acquiring and retaining customers versus the focus on driving out costs. And I don't think it needs to be one or the other. I think keeping the customer at the center of whatever you do, you can achieve both. You can achieve. Go ahead.
Yeah, we talk a lot about customer effort, and I think that always one of the things I love about that is whether you are looking to grow your customer base or whether you are looking to reduce cost, effort in the contact center, at least, effort equals time pretty much. Somewhat, I can't figure out where to go in the IVR menu or something like that. But for the most part, it's I spent too long waiting. I spent too long in an IVR, and then I had to repeat myself with an agent, or I had to be transferred, or all these things that are effort. They're not just making the customer unhappy. They're costing the company a lot. Because I don't know, every time you transfer a call, I forget the details, but that's $5 at least. Just
Right.
I've got two people involved and all of that. So
Right.
there's a big cost there. You can build a business case that says, okay, I am improving the customer experience, and that has all this goodness, which is hard to measure, honestly, versus I can do this thing, which is going to be better for the customer, and I'm going to take 15, 30 seconds off every call. Here's the math for that. And then, you can justify the purchase of something that allows you to do that based on the hard dollars, and then start to get some of the softer dollars and the more growing of it. You mentioned something earlier I wanted to follow up on. You talked about in when it's a marketing oriented, I'll use that term, contact center, they focus more on revenue and money coming in. They drive more of that.
Yeah.
How do you, you know, I, I always struggle with that when I talk to our customers and hear them struggle. Eh, it's not like they're buying it on that call, or maybe in some cases you're doing an upsell. But how do you connect those things? How do you show how does the CXO show the CEO this investment is going to drive revenue? What does that conversation look like?
And it is a long-term play. It is looking at the average revenue associated with each sale, getting a snapshot in time and seeing if you can grow that revenue associated with each sale or grow the number of repeat customers or grow the number of sales you can make with that customer within a certain period of time. There's so many various different metrics, and depending on what you're measuring within your organization, and think of you as that consumer as well. Think of about
Mm.
how do you measure or determine who to do business with, right? And thinking about that example from last week on the home improvement store and the ceiling fan, or I guess it was a couple weeks ago now, it is I'm it is customer attrition. So more than likely, I'm not going to choose to do business with that
Right, right.
organization. So what does your customer attrition look like over time? Versus on the inverse of that, I'm going to increase the frequency in which I do business with, let's say, that big box online retailer. And uh, move my dollars that I would have spent with that big box store over to the online retailer. So my average number of orders per month, per year increases there, and potentially the dollar amount associated with each order could potentially increase as well. So as you're thinking about how you measure success and how you measure how your contact center strategy is measuring up, it's less about measuring the immediacy of the contact itself. It's less about measuring the average handle time associated with that contact. It's more about measuring data over time associated with that customer. How many times did that customer have to contact you about that friction point? Was it resolved with the first contact? And is that customer choosing to continue to do business with you? And is it contributing to your bottom line?
That's such a great, I think, summary and final point to make on this discussion, because as you were first talking, I was thinking, well, those are things that, regardless of whether it works in operations or it works in marketing, that people are going to care about and want to see and justify up. But I think, you're probably your core first point really shines through here, which is when you're operations focused and you're just looking at managing a cost center, how do you get people to step back and have that bigger picture? Whereas if at a high level, you've moved this to somebody whose job it is to think that way, it becomes a
Mhm.
lot easier to justify making all that happen. It can happen either way, but I think it's a whole lot easier. So where the contact center lives really does matter.
It really does. That mindset of driving revenue, driving customer loyalty and lifetime value of customer matters in the overall success of your business.
Great. Well, thank you, Joanna. I think this was a really good conversation and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Talk to you next week.
Alrighty, sounds good. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.